seems to me that there are a lot of people out there who seem to have a lot of strange ideas about the federal executive authorities in the United States. When I talk about the federal executive authorities, I'm talking first about the president, and then I'm talking about entities like the FBI, the CIA, U.S. Marshals, and various others. And I want to make something quite clear. At this point, we've got major overstep going on where these entities are concerned. I want to talk today about executive power, particularly with regard to the federal executive authority in the United States, on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Wednesday, the 1st of December of 2021. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. And again, by the way, Rumble is my preferred platform. And again, keep in mind we're talking about more or less executive power, but I'm talking specifically with regard to the federal government. I'm going to go ahead and go through my notes as I normally do to give you some idea sort of where I stand on things. I don't think you're going to be horribly surprised, but you might hear some things that either you haven't heard for a while or maybe you never have heard at all, and hopefully that will be useful and worthwhile to you. What did the founders believe where executive power was concerned? How much power should there be at a federal level? What should happen with the executive and legislative function below the national level? These are questions everybody in the United States should be asking themselves. I'm sure you've heard a good many folks talking about executive overreach on the level above state activity. To really understand what the folks in question are talking about, you need to delve into the United States Constitution and see what it says. Maybe one of the most important parts can be found here in the 10th Amendment. I'm going to put up on the screen. The thing is, this is so simple, right? It says, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. In other words, they're saying, the federal government is quite limited in what it has the authority to do, and it's limited by what the Constitution says. Let me go ahead and take this down now. Okay, so that's literally all of that amendment. As you're probably aware, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution are referred to as the, quote, Bill of Rights, end of quote. They're considered to be the next most important thing after the main body of that document. So the founders felt it necessary to explicitly state this right, if you will, in the Bill of Rights because it was that important. That is, that the federal government had intentionally very limited authority. Yet we as people, and more importantly our federal executive and legislative entities, seem to have conveniently forgotten what's said here. The result is an absolutely huge administrative state, unreasonable and illegal legislative edicts, and federal overreach on the executive part of the executive, which is also against the law. National legislators and executive officials, pretty much to a man, make pledges to follow this extremely important document, the Constitution, right? Yet one has to wonder, have they actually read it? It's well past time for the folks in question to start saying too much, not enough. Enough is years ago. It's been a long time since we've been past enough. We're at too much by this point. I don't profess to understand how it should happen, but a great deal of what exists on the federal legislative and executive level needs to just plain go away. I recognize the need to take deliberate, measured action. I get that. At this point, though, what people seem to be interested in is taking none at all, and that particularly applies to legislators and executive folks and people in the administrative state. This must change. We need to rein in the federal executive power, and it must start yesterday. It's too late to start today. It should have already started. So the obviously what I'm saying is the first available moment we need to start looking at how to do this. This is what's necessary. This is what needs to happen. I just can't reiterate sufficiently how important it is to take what the federal government, particularly in the executive and legislative parts of it, have glommed onto back from those people. It's just not okay. And I think that things like, and I'm going to do something I don't like to name names here, I think the current attitude of Mr. DeSantis in Texas and Mr. Abbott, I think it is, Mr. Abbott, I think, in Texas, and Mr. DeSantis in Florida. I'm getting them backwards here. Roman free sometimes makes me forget to think quite as hard as I really ought to. But the point is, I think what they're doing in a lot of instances are the things we need to be doing on a state-by-state basis throughout all 50 states of the United States. Now, I recognize that some of the states are not going to do the things that they're supposed to do. Here's the funny part, though. Okay, if you look at a state like California, where they are right now, they have, quote, sanctuary cities. Is that legal on a federal level? One of the few things that the federal government really ought to be taking care of, which is to keep us from being invaded by foreigners. No, it's not legal for them to have sanctuary cities, yet they do it. So they're willing to buck the federal government when they feel like it's something that they need or want to do. The sad reality is, most of the time, the things that they're bucking the federal government on are the wrong things, and the things that they ought to be doing that the federal government says that they should, they won't. And then the things that they shouldn't, or that they shouldn't be listening to the federal government on, let's put it this way. And things they shouldn't be listening to them on, they not only are, but a lot of times they're doubling down on a state level as well. And I'm just telling you, this is horribly bad. We're seeing unprecedented restrictions in the United States at this moment, and they're not good. They're not good. Look, if you tell me I put a person in jail and I ask you why, and you say, well, he murdered 3 people, I go, well, yeah, that's probably a pretty good reason to put that person in jail. But if you say I put a person in jail for parading around the capital of the United States in some freaky costume, calling myself the shaman of the United States or whatever I happen to want to call myself, and for supposedly impeding Congress, who would have been just fine after the couple of hours that everything was done on the 6th of January of this year, I scratch my head and go, really? And that's particularly true when I find out, and this time we're going to bring up something different, when I find out people are going to jail for more time for fighting dogs than they do for killing people or hurting people in serious kinds of ways. I'm sorry, but we've got our priorities mixed up enough. But what makes that worse is on a federal level, we're allowing people to dictate to us, this is what I want you to do, this is how I want you to do things. And let me just tell you, in some instances they have the right to do that, but in most of the places where the federal government is doing that, they do not have that right. They don't have that right. And quite frankly, when the federal government fails, like I think it's, again, Greg Abbott has said, I think it's Abbott, I'm hoping I'm remembering who's the current governor of Texas, I may be mistaken, but whoever it is that's the current governor of Texas is basically saying, look guys, we have this gigantic border with Mexico, and you guys aren't protecting it. You guys aren't making it so that people can't come across at will. And they're basically trying to say, we're going to protect that border if you won't. And they have every right, according to everything I see, to do that. Now, if the federal government did what they were supposed to do in that instance, it would actually be correct for them to do so. But there are so many things that the federal government is doing at this moment in time, and particularly in the executive and legislative branches. I wanted to make this video particularly about the executive, that are just wrong, like going and investigating things that they claim they have a right to investigate, and in reality they don't. They're not interstate or anything of that nature, and they're not things that they should have the right to go and do that sort of thing for. Okay, I'm basically out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Wednesday, the 1st of December of 2021. That means tomorrow will be Thursday, the 2nd. Today is the 1st, in case I said that wrong. Thursday, the 2nd of December of 2021. And so we're marching ever closer to that weekend. Thank you for coming on, whether on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a boxing glove or a plus on Rumble if you want to do that. You can give me a minus on Rumble if you want to tell me that I'm not doing something as you would prefer me to do it. You can give me a thumbs up or a like on YouTube to tell me, hey, you're doing good. You can give me a thumbs down or a dislike if you want to tell me that I'm not doing so great. Remember that any platform where I actually post my content, if it's possible to comment, you can do that, and I will do my very best to try and look at it, and if I feel it appropriate, respond, but I'll certainly look at it and try and understand what it is that you're saying. Today, we've been talking about the subject of executive power, and tomorrow we're going to be on about cost and worth. And this is kind of an interesting subject, and it came out of a thing that I saw where a contractor was talking about how somebody was saying that what they wanted to do wasn't worth what they were asking to do it for. And I'm going to get into that tomorrow. But anyway, again, that's something we will discuss tomorrow. Hopefully you're having a good day today and everything is going well for you. And hopefully we will see you again on Thursday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video is recorded on Wednesday, December 1st of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.